Welcome to BCEN and Friends podcast, Season 2. Today, Janie Shoemaker and Mark Eggers have the pleasure of speaking with Rob Corrao, the CEO of L.A.C. Group. The title of this episode, CEO is Busy Giving Back, fits this podcast so perfectly, as you will see as you listen. Now let me give it over to Mark and Janie so we can find out more about Rob and his busy life.
So hello and welcome to the BCEN and Friends podcast, Season 2, where we continue to hold interesting conversations about learning with a range of thought leaders, BCN certification holders, and industry professionals. But most importantly, to create value and insight for you, our professional nurses across the emergency spectrum. We hope you find our discussions interesting, informative, sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but always valuable. I'm Mark Eggers, Manager of Education Technology Services at BCEN, and one of your hosts for today. I'm joined by my co-host, Janie Shoemaker, CEO at BCN. Hi, Janie.
Hi, Mark.
So to start off our Season 2, we have another great guest joining us today, Rob Corrao. Janie, how about you tell us a little bit about Rob?
Rob Corrao is the CEO of the L.A.C. Group with a 25-year plus track record, driving growth at private and private equity held technology-enabled service companies. He is responsible for the direction, innovation, and overall performance of the L.A.C. He has a deep experience in growing and running all aspects of businesses, including sales and marketing, product management, client service, business development, finance, and investor relations. Involved in successfully delivering multiple acquisitions and post-acquisition integrations, Rob is passionate about developing L.A.C.'s most important asset, the team. Rob is also interested in guiding culture and capabilities. He enables and guides individuals, teams, and organizations to think and act in new, more creative ways. He cultivates highly collaborative environments that facilitate cohesive teams and divisions that deliver new and continued value to clients. Rob has a substantial technological background and is highly effective at integrating processes and establishing shared understanding and values. Rob's strengths and capabilities in managing complex business models, post-acquisition integration, growth strategies, business transformation, change management, sales and marketing, operations leadership and management, strategic corporate development, mergers and acquisitions, data management and security, knowledge management, sales and strategy techniques and coaching, employee engagement, and technology analysis. Rob's most important role is inspiring his two young sons to develop into men who contribute to their own families, communities, and world's well-being. Rob lives in California with his wife and two sons. He serves on several boards, both nonprofit and professional. And I can attest to these abilities that Rob has personally, as he is on year 6 of being the public member at the Board of Certification for Emergency Nursing. And he has added so much value in the very areas that I just finished describing. So welcome, Rob, to the BCENs and Friends podcast.
Excellent. Thank you so much for a great introduction for Rob. Rob, as Janie said, welcome to BCN and Friends. And let me begin with, is there anything else we want to add to your introduction? Anything else you want to add to it?
I am flattered. I think that Janie covered it well.
You know, in the introduction that Janie just said, I heard her say about L.A.C. Group. What is the L.A.C. Group?
L.A.C. Group is a library research, intelligence, and related resources management organization where our clients can outsource those functions to us. We're passionate about delivering meaningful information to our clients that help them both make better decision-making as well as drive competitive advantage.
All right, Rob, I understand as I've gotten to know you over the last few years that you volunteer as a pilot for Angel Flight. And I know this is one of the things that really intrigued me when you applied to be our public member. So could you tell our audience a little bit about what is Angel Flight and your role there?
Sure. I'm a volunteer pilot for Angel Flight, which means, and Angel Flight is an organization that provides non-emergency ambulatory transportation for patients in need of major medical health care, but are outside of a commutable distance or outside of, in my case, the Los Angeles area. So I volunteer for Angel Flight West, which is the western region of the United States. And I will typically fly patients from birth through 80 years old from more rural areas who are typically with financial hardship and are deemed, outside of the appropriate distance to drive if you're being treated for cancer or so forth. One of my passengers last week was a 4-year-old cancer patient. It would have been a 9-hour trip for that cancer patient on a Friday night, headed back to just east of Las Vegas. We were able to make the trip in about an hour and a half. So instead of being met with car sickness and the fatigue of a 9-hour drive, we were able to, and that's just one direct, we were able to get the patient to and from care same day within a few hours. So it's really something that helps those that are less fortunate, those who don't have access to great care, so that they can actually get to great care and then have a more restful and less nauseous experience.
Wow, that's really amazing, Rob. And I know you've been doing this quite a while. I'm sure you have many experiences like that. What a difference that makes for the people that you're helping who otherwise would be taking that 9-hour car trip that you described. That is really incredible. I know on behalf of all of our listeners, we would all thank you very much for volunteering your time in such a way. That's so important. So thank you.
My pleasure. And it's something I get a lot out of. I've had so many stories that have brought tears to my eyes and twisted my heart, over the years that I've been doing this. I think I started in 2009. I'm thinking of one story that comes to mind where it was a guy that was just like me, except for I'm not battling cancer. He was my age, about my build, and it was right after I had bought the plane that I'm currently flying, and I bought it specifically so that I could do more angel flights and make the passengers more comfortable. It was going to be about a 12-hour drive for him in each direction, and he had a hard time moving and climbing in and out of planes. And so the plane that I have has a large barn door rear entrance and reclining rear seats with lots of leg room, and so it made it really easy for him to lay down and rest. And his wife was with us on the trip, and she told me as he rested with a blanket over him sleeping, she was telling me the story about their 4 sons and how he was diagnosed by his youngest son because they were camping, and he collapsed, and his brain tumor had just taken over. And I also sit on the board of directors for the National Brain Tumor Society, and so it really hit me hard as I'm watching this guy who's the father of 4 boys fight, and just it brought tears to my eyes. Still does.
That's such a touching story. So that must feel really rewarding to be able to help and give back in that way. And this podcast is titled "This CEO is Busy Giving Back," and I can clearly see what a difference you're making there with Angel Flight. That's amazing. Speaking of giving back, Rob, I just quickly want to touch on, I know you said you're on several boards, and of course you're the public member for the Board of Certification for Emergency Nursing. And so I don't know, would you mind sharing just briefly what your favorite part of that has been over the years as you are, I know you're finishing your term this year, so do you have a favorite memory of serving as our
boy, there are so many. I think that really, more of a directionally seeing the transformation of the organization and how we've adopted technology and leveraged the opportunity to reach out to so many and and have modernized our approach with our nurse population. It's just been, it's overwhelming to see the leaps forward that we've made as an organization. I feel honored and blessed to be part of that journey, and so proud to have served in a capacity where I can share with many others on the board our improvements and strives forward.
Yeah, you've definitely made a huge difference for us with all that expertise you have. And that's what the public member is supposed to bring to the table. And you have done that and so much more. So we thank you for that.
Rob, as you notice, podcast is a captive audience. So they're either running, jogging, in their car, whatever. So, do you have any advice for our listeners that you would like to share while they're running or jogging or listening in their car radio?
Oh boy. Advice. Don't take your eyes off the road. If you're driving, if you're running, make sure you don't trip. But no, it's really, in all seriousness, the advice I have is especially because many of the listeners are going to be those in the nursing profession. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep striving to achieve more. Keep jogging. Keep driving forward, metaphorically and physically. We owe so much to you as a society, as a culture, and you've made such an impact in lives, and you've got no idea, probably for 90% of the times that you've made a marked impact on somebody's life. You have. Just keep doing it.
We're going to go through a few rapid fire questions here with you. That doesn't mean we're going to say them fast, but we're just going to have a few short questions to ask you about. So, I was looking around, finding out information about you now for our podcast, and I saw a bullet point that read Greyhound Dog Rescue. Can you tell us something about that?
Sure. There's a saying in the Greyhound adoption world that once you've had a Greyhound, it's hard to have a dog. Which is a little true. It was I guess 2005 when I adopted my first Greyhound. I had stopped outside a rescue group in front of a pet store, and I was just petting the dogs. And when you're a dog lover, that's what you do. And just as I was getting ready to leave, one of the dogs that was out being walked by a volunteer came back and looked around at all the other dogs. Like, you guys are amateurs. You want to see how to get adopted? Here, hold my beer. And he came up to me, he put his head in my lap, he put his paw on me, and he said, "You're taking me home." And I did. And a year later, I ended up getting married and adopting my second Greyhound. And then we started, the fellow that was running the Greyhound adoption group ended up leaving California to go care for his mother in Florida. And so we inherited the group and took over, and we adopted out into Southern California hundreds of Greyhounds. I ended up flying Greyhounds back and forth from Arizona, from the track that was in Tucson, and had just a great time getting dogs, and especially the Greyhounds, into homes here in California. And we no longer run the adoption group. We've actually folded it into GreySave, which is the group that's running Greyhound adoptions here in Southern California now. But that's where we adopted our third and current Greyhound, Ava.
Wow. I have a friend that has a Greyhound. They're just so mild, and they're so low, but when you look at them, you want to take them home. Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, Rob, doesn't Ava have her own Instagram page?
She does. Ava the Greyhound.
Okay, so if people want to see your gorgeous Ava, they can go on and find her on Instagram. She's phenomenal. She's and people can't see. We're all looking at each other on video right now, and people can't see the way your face lights up when you're talking about Ava. So I think Ava is special to you. She
is.
Well, I'm going to switch gears now, Rob. Another topic I know that is interesting to you. We know that you love to cook. We also know that you have olive trees in your yard. And, you live in California, I live in Kansas, so never would I have an olive tree around here. But you have olive trees. And so I'm just wondering, I know you do things with your olives. Do you have a favorite go-to recipe that you would tell us about?
Well, if you're asking my boys, it's probably olives on pizza, because I do love to cook. It's and because I love to cook and I love to eat fresh food, we have olive trees. We have a number of vegetable gardens and fruit trees and so forth. Definitely fortunate to be in Southern California where everything grows pretty much year round. And so, yeah, we will cook up a bunch of pizzas in the wood oven, and the favorite is olives, goat cheese, some fresh thyme, and some homemade mozzarella.
That sounds amazing. I'm just fascinated that you have olive trees, and you have more than one kind of olive tree too. Is that right?
You want to have a couple of different kinds as pollinators. I had to learn all about that, but we have two different varietals from Sicily and one from Spain, and it gives us the right pollination for another, and the big juicy eating olives to the olives where the smaller ones from Spain are great for making olive oil.
Wow. That's so cool.
So talking about olive trees, and you say you love to cook, do you have a go-to recipe that you just love, or, it's like, oh, I love making this one. It's the one I make during celebrations. It's the one I make, just anytime I want it. Yeah.
Oh boy. I think, we wander through different regions of the world. And so I would say there's, if I were to say one particular dish, I guess the one that we've been making most recently, we will do smoked tri-tip on our egg, and we'll turn that into a kind of a Mexican pizza with the leftovers, and that's a lot of fun. But this past summer, especially during the pandemic and being locked down, we had a little bit of time on our hands, and so we cooked through just for fun. I had seen, of course, the movie about Julia Childs and cooking through the Julia Childs recipes, and I'm a bigger fan of Thomas Keller, and so we cooked through French Laundry, which has a more challenging menu, but we were able to spend the summer cooking through the entire menu of French Laundry. It was a lot of fun to try and recreate the dishes.
Neat. That sounds fantastic, man. Well, Rob, you do so many different things and have so many different talents but look back, before you got into these things, what would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing now? So is there, in college or before, there were things like, oh, when I get older, when I grow up, this is what I really want to do?
That's a bit of a loaded question. I never sit still, and my wife would say that's a fault. I think it's a bonus. I try and learn something new every day. I try and make connections, create things, build things. If I weren't doing what I'm doing today, I would probably be doing something similar. It would certainly be active. It would certainly be where I could learn, where I could share passion. I've done some fun things, between amateur sailboat racing and auto racing, and obviously I fly planes and so forth. But for me, it's really about connecting with people, and so I'd likely be building a different company. I'd be exploring ways to leverage technology to better lives and to help businesses perform at a new and more advanced level. But it'd certainly be something that I'm in an area that I'm passionate about. I need to be passionate about what I'm doing, and need to really believe in the mission of the organization for me to really get behind it. Otherwise, it just I'll turn off pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you are passionate about everything you do. And again, we are putting this podcast together, but we're looking at each other as we're doing it, and I can see on your face everything you talk about. There's a passion. So absolutely. Now, One of the questions we asked in season 1 was, what's your favorite book? But for season 2, we got to change up a little bit. So we expanded that. What's your favorite book, movie, and or song that inspires you? And you can give all three. You can give one of the categories. So either favorite book, movie, and or song, all three.
Wow. Okay. So book, I would say, and probably because I've had the good fortune to have met the author. I consider him a friend. But the book is called Lateral Thinking by Edward de Bono. It's actually out of print. I've got a couple of copies, which I'm glad to have. But Lateral Thinking by Edward de Bono would be my favorite book. And the title is somewhat self-descriptive of the contents of the book. Movies, really, I have a hard time picking a favorite. I spend a lot of time on commercial aircraft, and I spend a lot of time staring at a movie on the back of the seat in front of me, and there's a different sense of good movie when you're on a plane. So I would say, if I really am thinking about a more modern movie that is both entertaining and inspiring, I really enjoyed Sully. Being a pilot myself, I think that one of the things that I liked about it was challenging myself to think, would I ever in a million years stay that cool under pressure, or with the weight world on your shoulders, when everything is going wrong? Could I have held together the way he did? And the answer is most likely no, but I would love to dream that it's yes. But the fact that he cared about every single person under his watch, I know that's how I feel when I run my life, when I run my company. I don't know if it'd be the way I feel if I were flying a plane and missing a bridge by 5 feet and landing in the Hudson. But that being said, I thought it was a great movie, and I thought it carried a really powerful message. As far as songs, I get made fun of by my family because I often, their lyrics are lost on me. So I traditionally listen to classical music because there are no words. I'm usually doing 1,000 things when I'm listening to music, and so my wife and boys tease me about, do you remember the lyrics of this, or do you remember the lyrics of that, or they'll say the song with, I like that song because of the lyrics. I'm thinking to myself, I don't even remember the lyrics. So I would say, as a genre, classical music would be my favorite, but to pick out specifics would be even hard there. Just there's so many, and it depends on what I'm doing.
You could always tell your family that all the words to every instrumental that's out there.
That's it's a good point. I might use that one.
Good, excellent. Janie, what questions do you have?
Yeah, well, this has just been fascinating, Rob. Here, and you have this busy job at the L.A.C. group as the CEO there, and all these things you're doing there. And I know you've grown that organization tremendously. And then you have all these things you're doing to give back. So tell me, and aside from cooking, which we already talked about, what other thing, what hobby or interest do you do just for you, Rob? What do you like to do?
Well, I've had to scale back on my hobbies. I probably had too many when I got married. I did, as I mentioned earlier, I used to competitively sail. I did auto racing for a while. That was a lot of fun. I had a 1959 Elva career sports racer, and that was a lot of fun. I've ridden motorcycles for a while, although that's been put in the past with the kids. Hard to ride motorcycles with the kids these days, especially in California. But things that I still enjoy doing are things I can do with the family and things that I can do with friends. So we enjoy horseback riding and hiking. We still will do some sailing and boating together as a family, and it's been a lot of fun just seeing hobbies transform. I used to do a ton of scuba diving. I'll probably get back into that when the kids are a bit older. But things that I can do with the kids, like flying and hiking and horse riding and so forth. It's something that to watch them light up and get all excited about being part of the world.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you do have some things you do, because you are a busy, very busy person and very successful. And I think I think part of the key to your success, as I listen and as I've gotten to know you, is you are a lifelong learner and you are a very curious person. And you're not comfortable just sitting still. You want to always be on the move and learning something, and that's a obviously great recipe for success for you. So
It's been a lot of fun, and I do have a hard time sitting still, and I don't sleep many hours at night, but that's okay.
yeah.
You are a goer. So do you ever watch any TV?
Oh, the occasional Food Network show.
Of course.
Or for a while we were watching a little bit of HGTV as we were renovating our house. But usually by the time I get to the end of the day, I'm not really one to watch a lot of TV.
I wouldn't think so. Well, great. Well, if an audience would like to follow you online, I understand you're on LinkedIn, you're on Twitter. Are there any other social media platforms or other locations that people should know about?
Well, I do have, as Janie pointed out, I've got an Instagram account and a Facebook account for close personal friends, but we have the public one for Ava. But really spend more of my time on LinkedIn than I do Twitter. And in general, I should say I try and spend a lot less time on screens outside of work than I otherwise would need to during work. So I don't have a heavy public persona on social media, more by design. But yeah, if people want to reach out to me, my LinkedIn account is probably the best one.
Okay, super. And I know if the audience wants to know about L.A.C, they can go to lac-group.com so they can find out more about L.A.C out there. I want to take this time to thank Rob Corrao for joining us for this episode of BCEN and Friends. Thank you, Rob. We hope you'll stay tuned as we continue on with this series and bring you new and meaningful content and perspectives. If you have a suggestion for an episode, please email us at bcen@bcen.org. I'm Mark Eggers, here with Janie Shoemaker, and on behalf of the entire BCEN team, we thank and celebrate you for all that you're doing as professional nurses across the emergency spectrum. So until next time,